Economy is doing great. Bank sector is doing great. But listening to the TV and reports from here and there give me the indication there is some worries out there, like how long it is gonna last. They make me feel like I should expect something wrong in the making. So, what is your biggest concern at the moment or in the next few years regarding the growing of the economy? And if you allow me to ask, is it fair to give Mr. Trump policy of cutting regulations and taxes some credit for the booming in the economy we're having at the moment? Thank you.
I, I think I'll take the last one first. Most business leaders that I speak with believe that there has been a recalibration of regulation. The Dodd-Frank Act was passed very shortly after the crisis, and it was some heavy medicine for the industry. And the size of the legislation was enormous. And what's happened is that 8 years has gone by, and there's been some recalibration. Because remember, I talked earlier about there are parts of Dodd-Frank that were very good, but the law, and even Barney Frank, who authored the law, thought that there needed to be recalibration. Now, he has since left Congress, so even those who authored the law, I think that's been very good for the economy, and I also think that it's been done in a very prudent manner, that it hasn't been increased the riskiness. There's no one wants to do a global financial crisis again, so I think it's been appropriate that the changes that have happened. So that's one. The second is credit costs in the banking industry are below any long-term norm that you would measure. So the question is, when is it going to go back to normal? Because credit costs for the banking industry have been so low, they really can't get any better. Loan quality. It's inevitable that you'll see a tick up in problem loans. The question is, how bad will it get? My own opinion is the lessons of the global financial crisis are so recent, and we have been in such a heavily regulated moment, that I don't think it's going to get away from the banks like it did last time. I think it's more likely to happen in areas of the market where there's been less regulation. For example, sometimes it's called the shadow banking system, where they're not as heavily regulated by the FDIC or other regulators. Those would be areas where I think you might, and they're not deposit funded. Deposit funding is a very big benefit to banks. Fred, would you like to add anything to that?
I think in terms of the risks to the kind of the economy and the system, if you look at the U.S. kind of consumer and commercial side, the U.S. consumer balance sheet is quite healthy by any standards. U.S. consumer debt has not grown excessively, and still, if you looked at debt, almost any kind of debt coverage ratio, the U.S. consumer still is in good shape, and especially at 4% unemployment. The one area of concern, I think, by many people, including us, is on the corporate side. Corporate debt levels have risen to, well past when they were prior to the financial crisis, and are very high today. So I think that's an area of some concern. Most of that debt, the high leverage debt, is not, as Tom was suggesting, on the bank balance sheets. A lot of it has been securitized into CLOs, has been, is in ETFs, bank loan funds, and these kind of things. So I think that is one area of concern, and especially if that continues to expand.